Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Gamecock Central Radio. It's Emerson Phillips, joined by Wes Mitchell. Will Muschamp's midweek press conference took place today. South Carolina getting set to take on Western Carolina. 4 o'clock kickoff at Williams-Brice coming up on Saturday, and a chance for the Gamecocks to get to 6 wins, which would make them bowl eligible. Wes, a lot of talk leading up to the season. Didn't know if 6 wins would be a realistic possibility for this ball club, a team that won 3 games a year ago, and a chance to double that total with Western Carolina coming in with a 2-8 record on Saturday. Wes, a big game for the Gamecocks. 6 wins would be important. How important is it, Wes?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge. For first of all, just the idea of doubling a win total from last year, I think is a good talking point. They were obviously in a really bad place last year, and obviously the Citadel loss is sort of a historic loss for South Carolina. So to sort of put that behind them and have a shot at 6 this week, obviously, they got to take care of business against Western Carolina. But I look at it as sort of a stepping stone for this team. Realistically, you would think the plan is for them to get to a point where you get to 6 wins, like, the middle of the season. And 6 wins is sort of just a small goal on the way to some other goals. But, I think you look at this team and you look at where they are as a program. 6 wins is something I think that you don't take for granted. It should be celebrated. And more importantly, I think for the older guys, it gives them an opportunity to possibly go out with a bowl win. For the younger guys, it gives them an opportunity to get extra practice. And, I think, like Muschamp he put it in a great way today, I thought. Basketball, you can get better on your own by shooting hoops or playing one-on-one. It's not the same, but you can get better. Baseball, you can go take cuts in the cage. Football, really, you have to just get out there and play, get out there and practice. Having a set of bowl practices is just it's instrumental for a team that is very, very young.
Injury update for the Gamecocks. Rico Dowdle appears to be good to go. He left the Florida game, was banged up in that game, West, but Dowdle appears to be good to go?
Yeah, I think, that they're in relatively good health, all things considered. I think Donnell Stanley with the ankle, that's sort of been a recurring thing. I think, to me, it makes sense at this point, if they think he'd be granted a 6th year of eligibility, to go ahead and maybe wait and try to get that. But, Randricus Davis' situation as well. He's a true freshman that showed a ton of promise, in limited time, and now he's been nagged by injuries. So I think it makes a lot of sense with Randricus to sort of, at the end of the day, it could almost be a blessing in disguise, because Randricus Davis is a kid that this staff is very high on. They're very high on what he could do in the future. They think he's got tremendous upside. So, he's going to have the advantage of getting out there and playing a bit, while also, probably getting his year back. So I think for Randricus Davis to be counted as a redshirt freshman next year would be big for him and big for his future. And then, the other guys, Chris Moody, A.J. Turner, they're just sort of, I think, sounds like they'll just take them day by day and sort of see where they're at. And obviously, Rico Dowdle being good to go is a great sign for South Carolina.
Moody questionable to doubtful, as is A.J. Turner, according to Coach Muschamp, for the Western Carolina game coming up on Saturday. Donnell Stanley sounds like he's day-to-day. He's still nursing that ankle injury. And Rico Dowdle good to go back at practice this week for the Gamecocks. So getting ready for Western Carolina. Emerson Phillips and Wes Mitchell here on Gamecock Central Radio. We invite you to download the Gamecock Central Radio app. You'll find us on the App Store and on Google Play. To subscribe to this podcast, search for Gamecock Central Radio. We're on iTunes, SoundCloud, and other popular services, or visit radio.GamecockCentral.com. Wes Muschamp today also talked about Jake Bentley, said the Florida game was a learning experience for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, that was pretty clear. He didn't play quite as well as he had, but I thought, all things considered, didn't play poorly. He and really the numbers didn't tell the story. There were several throws that he put absolutely on the money. Even the throw there at the end that went off of Hayden Hurst's fingertips that he couldn't quite grab. I mean, with a guy bearing down on him, 4th down, where he put that spot, I mean, that was a big time elite type throw just to give his guy a chance. So, I thought, I've been extremely high on Jake Bentley, as have a lot of people, and I didn't see anything in the swamp to change that thought process. This is a kid that is going to steadily grow with this team, steadily grow in this offense, and get more and more comfortable. Although he already looks pretty comfortable. I think the big thing is just to continue to try and find ways to better protect him in the pocket, because I know there's some talk about trying to get the ball out faster and stepping up in the pocket a little bit more. But at the end of the day, South Carolina in the future is just going to simply have to find a way to protect Bentley more, because that Florida pass rush was in the backfield at way too consistent of a rate, if you ask me.
Yeah, the Gamecocks took it on the chin at Florida on Saturday, and Bentley was sacked 5 times. He took some hits in this ball game, but I don't think anybody's confidence has wavered in Jake Bentley whatsoever in his first road start for the Gamecocks. So Carolina at 5-5 coming into this Western Carolina game, 4 o'clock kickoff at Williams-Brice on Saturday. And Wes, a couple of other items to talk about today before we wrap it up. Muschamp spoke to the media for about 20 minutes today, and there was not a lot of new information to come out. But he did talk a little bit about Javon Kinlaw, the product of Goose Creek High School, who is now at junior college, and he's a Gamecock commit. Wes, he appears to have backed off of his commitment to South Carolina. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, he has backed off his commitment. That's something where we're, continuing to track that situation. He, seems to be a bit confused, obviously, and he and Muschamp don't appear to be on the same page right now, according to, not his being Muschamp, but his being Kinlaw's comments to the media since decommitting. But, that's a situation where this is a kid that South Carolina placed at junior college. He's kind of on the Dante Sawyer track, where he went out there early, is going to spend, basically 1.5 years there versus having to do the full 2-year deal and be able to arrive in the summer. And it wouldn't even be. It's not even 1.5 years. It's short of that. So, South Carolina placed him there, hoping to get him back. And at this point, you've had schools like Alabama, Maryland, Tennessee, and Ole Miss is another one that hasn't really been talked about much. I think Ole Miss is probably a school to watch here with Kinlaw. But from everything we've been told, Chris Clark has reported a lot there on our Insiders Forum on Gamecock Central. But, South Carolina going to continue to work this. South Carolina's still in the mix, and, they're going to sort of try to work their way through this and see if they can get back on the same page with Kinlaw.
Yeah, I don't get the impression that the differences are irreconcilable at this point, but Kinlaw has, at least for the time being, temporarily backed off of his commitment to South Carolina, and he's going to at least entertain some other offers. So we'll continue to monitor this situation for you here on GamecockCentral.com. Wes, I want to talk about Marcus Lattimore. He was named the varsity head football coach at Heathwood Hall Episcopal School yesterday, a high school, private school here in Columbia, and the outpouring of support for Marcus Lattimore never ceases to amaze me. He's got to be the most beloved Gamecock of all time, Wes. Folks in the Gamecock fan base very pleased that Marcus Lattimore has got a head football coaching job.
Yeah, he's been outstanding, man. I think the thing about Marcus Lattimore that makes him so beloved is just I've never heard one person say a bad word about the guy. I mean, he's just a tremendous human being, and like Muschamp was saying, Marcus just has a way of connecting with people and making them feel special. And I think Marcus Lattimore will no doubt be a great coach from a football standpoint, but even over that is just how great it's going to be for those kids there at Heathwood to get to experience, being led by Marcus Lattimore. That is an absolute grand slam of a hire for those guys, and because you're talking about a guy who's not only been through SEC battles and knows what it takes and was drafted in the NFL, but is one of probably the all-time best leaders in South Carolina football history. And, I just picture Marcus as being someone that those kids would literally run through a wall for.
All right, Wes, we appreciate the time today. Huge game for the Gamecocks coming up on Saturday, a chance to get to 6 wins. We talked about how important it would be to get some additional practice time in preparation for a bowl, so that'll be the objective coming into Saturday against Western Carolina. Western Carolina team 2-8 coming in. They just got blown out by Furman, so the Gamecocks are obviously big favorites to win on Saturday, and we will have a 4 o'clock kick at Williams-Brice. Thank you, Wes.
Sounds good, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, he's Wes Mitchell, and I'm Emerson Phillips, and this is Gamecock Central Radio. Thanks for being with us.